All right, welcome back to this edition of the Farrell Phelps Show with my next guest, Kimberly Armstrong. Welcome to the show, Kimberly. Absolutely, absolutely. As you guys know, we're talking about the Women of Faith Anthology. And you know, faith is something that is operable in so many different ways based on where we are in our lives. And your story is about mental illness.
Yes.
And mental illness in the African American community particularly. Tell me a little bit about how you became involved with mental illness and mental illness in the African American community.
Well, I experienced childhood sexual abuse over a span of years. And later, as an adult, I was actually raped, assaulted, and stalked. And I went through a period of time where I did not know how to deal with those emotions. And I was torn emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and all. And I had to go and get professional help. And I know that within the African American community, we a lot of times feel like we can just pray about it and everything is going to be okay. And I feel like God has put people on this earth to help guide us, and it's up to us to protect ourselves and do what we have to do. We can still pray, we can still believe God, but God put those people in place to help us out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I like what you're saying and what you just said, because so often in the African American community, we always look at mental health like, oh, they crazy. Oh, no, I ain't going to get no comment. They crazy. That's for crazy folks or whatever. But it's the same folks that have the sense to know they need to get help.
Right.
They need to get counseling. You know, and it should never be an embarrassment to admit, I need help. And we get sick mentally as well as physically. But mentally is ignored more than anything because of the stigma that's attached to it. So I just want to commend you for breaking that barrier, that in itself, you know. And your experience, I can only imagine for you being how old did you say that you were when you were experiencing this?
When it very first started, I was around 3 years old, and it lasted for a very long time.
Okay.
Before I finally spoke out. And the adult that I went to speak out, I begged her not to tell my parents. And of course, her not having the wisdom that she needed, she didn't tell my parents either. And she had a strong faith in God. And her idea was to just pray. So that is why I've taken a stand with mental health, because a lot of people feel that if you're in a church, that you cannot believe God and trust God and still say that, hey, I have post-traumatic stress syndrome, or hey, you know, I'm having nightmares, and you know, hey, you know, I'm, you know, having flashbacks every night. So I took a lot of slack also from the church community. So it hurt me a lot spiritually. More than anything, I think the spiritual part was really detrimental. So I was glad that I was able to get counseling, get help, and then just start walking in my victory with the help of God.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And you know what? I'm glad that you talked about the church and everything too, because so often we talk about the church and we talk about the prayer, but a lot of times when we're talking about the church and we're talking about the prayer, we have to take action in some kind of way too. You know, we've oftentimes heard the phrase, faith without works is dead.
Yes.
And we have to act on that faith by stepping out on faith and speaking out when we have situations and circumstances like this that are affecting our lives. Now, when you're a 3-year-old kid, you don't know how to process this type of thing.
No, you don't.
You know, and you can also believe that it's normal after a while if you're 3 years old. And it's not normal, you know, but it's hard for a child to articulate. How do I say this? Who do I? But you had the wherewithal to tell somebody that was an adult. You did that. As a young person did that. Not all kids have the courage to do that. So I want us to give it up for this girl, because not all people have the courage to do that. And a lot of times in the African American community, we want to sweep this under the rug. We want to act like it didn't happen in our family. That's BS. It does happen, and we need to call out the people that do it. And that's just the bottom line. It doesn't matter who it is. If it's Uncle so-and-so, Aunt so-and-so, it don't matter. When you are abusing or mistreating a child, it is wrong on every level. Bottom line. So when you're able to speak out and say what you're saying, that just really touched my heart to see that. because it took a lot, I know, for you to do it. And there's other people that are like you that have experienced the same thing, that haven't had the guts to do it, that are adult people that have carried that into their adult lives, and it has molded their life as it is. And it could be different had they spoken out,
Yes.
or seeked help, or seeked counseling. Now, and the adult that you said that you shared the story with, you said you asked her not to tell your parents,
Yes.
and she did that.
Right.
I don't know if I could have been that adult,
Right.
you know? And I don't know, how old were you when you actually shared that with that person?
When I actually shared it, I was 8 years old, and I went through a period of months of wanting to say something. And I would actually pray during this whole time of my abuse. For some reason, I would just pray. A lot of times when I was being physically touched and abused, I would zone out. And I come from a very strong Christian background, praying grandmother, praying aunt. So I would just pray and just ask God to help me get through it. So I built up enough courage to actually go and tell this particular individual that I had been abused and that this person had been doing this for a while. And ironically, it was someone who was well known in the community, very well respected, and he was always around children. So it wasn't like that boogeyman that people say that's going to come out the woods and get you, and this stranger that you don't know. It was someone that I was looking at every single day.
Wow. And a lot of times predators are those people that are around, that are close to the family, that are doing these types of things. And that ain't everybody that's close to the family. Let's make sure that you all understand that. But there are people that are close enough to make those types of you know, and that's unfortunate. And it's very unfortunate, is what it is. But for you to say something, I think that's a beautiful thing. I'm going to say that again. Now, how did it get to the place where you made up your mind, I got to say something?
At that age.
At that age. How did you get there?
Because you take on a lot of responsibility, and I am the oldest of 3 children. So for me, it was out of protection for my sister and my brother. And needless to say, a lot of times I actually sacrificed myself to prevent this person from touching my sister and from touching my brother. So I went through a period where I thought it was my fault, because I was simply saying, like, here I am, you know, do it to me and don't do them. Like, I'll let you willingly, but please don't touch them. So when it got to the point where I saw no matter how much I would plead, how much I would beg, his interest was starting to turn to my siblings. I knew that I had to say something, and I had to say something quick.
Wow. And man, it took a lot of strength to do that.
Yeah, it did.
It took a lot of strength to do that. And that's just wow. That's tough. That's tough. But you're still standing. You're here today, telling your testimony. You're still standing and you're sharing your story. You're still standing and you're blessing somebody out there that's listening to your story. And that's the greatest blessing of all. When you can go through it, like I said earlier, go through the experience and share the story, and then bless somebody else that might be experiencing something like that to change their lives. It is not always easy for us to take a stand.
Right.
Like you've done.
Right.
And I commend you in a major way. And not only have you experienced that and come through that, but you also experienced stage 3 thyroid cancer, and you have survived that as well.
Yes, by the
Tell me
grace
how
of
that
God.
affects. Yeah, man, you done been through. But you're still here, you know?
Yes, and it's only by the grace of God. And whenever you hear that C word, cancer, it's scary. But I have to say that it sounds kind of crazy, but the cancer actually saved my life in more ways than one.
Okay.
You know, it saved my life spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Because it's something about the cancer, you know you want to live. So you know if you want to live, you have to fight to survive. So me being the type of person who takes care of everyone, it forced me in a position that I was on my back, and I had to completely surrender myself and allow other people to take care of me. So when that happened, I had to rely on God.
Yeah.
And when God got me through that, I told God, look, if you can get me through this, I can do anything. And that is when I found my voice. That's when I found my voice.
Okay. Wow. if you can get me through this, then I can do
Yes.
anything.
Yes.
Wow. And obviously you're doing everything because you're here, you're sharing your story, and you're still standing through thyroid cancer, through abuse, and all of that. Now, wow. 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 I'm sitting here holding back my tears trying to get through this. That's tough. That's tough. But now you speak to women and girls.
Yes. I speak to women and girls. I feel that that's my ministry. Because a lot of times women are so busy taking care of other people that they rarely ever take the time to help themselves. So I feel like if I can talk to them to let them know that you have to put yourself number one, that does not mean you're being selfish. You don't have to feel guilty about it. Mm-hmm. But if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be there to take care of your family. And I also like to speak to girls because a lot of girls suffer with low self-esteem, shame, guilt, all of that. I had very low self-esteem. I was always ashamed, always bashful, too shy to talk. Wouldn't even go in a room full of people. Now I talk so much, people have to tell me to be quiet. So I feel like that's my ministry, and I really enjoy working with women, and I really enjoy working with girls.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. And all of that makes your experience worth it when you go through it. When you take it and turn it in. You know, my dad used to always say, take your lemon and turn it into lemonade. Find a way to make what your experience is work for you and bless other people along the journey. That's what life is all about, yes. And that's what you're doing. I want to ask you one other question before we wrap up your segment. What happened to the person that was the abuser? What happened to that person?
Well, he hasn't did any jail time, but I would say stay tuned for other actions that I plan to get done. I will say that God gave me some amazing strength on last year Father's Day. Out of the blue, he gave me the strength to confront my abuser. And I walked over to his house and I said, I need to have a conversation with you. He walked out, we talked. I told him, I remember what you did to me and I need an apology. And if you don't have an apology to give me, don't speak to me, don't talk to me, don't ever say anything to me. And if I ever see you in the street or close to a child, trust me, I'm coming for you. So that right there, just to be able to confront him, all of the chains, all of the weight that I had on me, it lifted instantly. Instantly. I felt so free. And I've never felt that free in my life.
Wow.
Since that day.
And you know, it's something empowering about confronting the person that abused you. It's something empowering about that. And you have actually had strength since you were a little girl, obviously, that you're able to deal with this and then push on through and then have the guts, as of course an adult now, to go and confront the MF that did that. And I'm saying that to say, because there's a lot more I can say, because that ain't right. But I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much. Thank
you.
Proud
of you. And thank you for sharing your story with us and blessing the women that are listening to this story. And I know it's going to touch the hearts and souls of other women that are going through it. Before we wrap this segment, though, what would you say to a little girl who's 8 years old out there listening and looking? What would you say to her if she's being abused right now? How would you guide and direct her?
I would tell her that it is not your fault. It is not your fault at all. You cannot control what someone else do to you that is harmful to your body. And I would also tell you that regardless of how you may feel, you are worthy and God loves you. I love you. And you can get through it. You can survive it. And you can thrive. And you can walk in your victory. Just use your voice. And that's it.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned. We're going to be back in just a moment with more Women of Faith. Stick around. We'll be back in just a moment.
Women invest a lot of valuable time in their stylish chair, creating and maintaining a polished image. Having been in the beauty industry for over 35 years, I have witnessed this investment firsthand.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Jackson and I'm the owner of Interactive Hair Studio. I love doing hair. I love being creative. I love giving someone options.
Through the years, I began to notice how much time was being spent threading needles during the weaving process. In salons everywhere, clients were threading needles for their stylist to save time instead of relaxing and enjoying the experience.
We had to use towels, and sometimes mannequin heads, or oftentimes your own clothes, where you thread a lot of needles and you just have them ready so you can move faster.
I knew that this was not the kind of experience that I wanted to provide for my clients, so I created a better way. The Easy Needle Multi-Threader is designed to make the weave installation process faster and easier, all in 5 simple steps. All you have to do is secure the Easy Needle Multi-Threader to a surface, insert the cushions into the unit, slide the needles into the cushions, place your thread onto the dowel, and thread your needles with the Easy Needle Threader. Stylists who use this product will never have to thread another needle in between weaving again. With the Easy Needle Multi-Threader, they can save time, save money, increase their clientele, and provide a wonderful experience for their clients.
Sky Trues Custom Eyewear has taken the world by storm. In only 8 months, Sky Trues has gained the eyes of many, including celebs like Big Sean, Little Flip, Destiny's Child, Soulja Boy, just to name a few. Through custom designs, Sky Trues can put your imagination on your frames. I bring to you the next big thing in Houston, Sky Trues, created by Golden Boy, the musician, the artist, the entrepreneur, and grassroots marketing genius. Be inspired. Sky Trues, custom designed frames.
Sky Trues! You know, when I started this thing,
welcome back. My next guest is Nicole Taylor. Nicole, welcome to the show. This is another part of the Women of Faith. Like I told you guys earlier, there are a lot of women in the building today that we're interviewing that are part of this amazing book, the Women of Faith Anthology. And in this book, they share their stories. And man, what stories they share in this book. And that's no different for Nicole Taylor. Nicole, I want you to tell me a little bit about your life experience, because you two are a part of this anthology.
So my life experience is that I was in a relationship that I thought he was the right one. I was previously married. That marriage didn't work, and I thought he was my Prince Charming, my knight in shining armor, my Mr. Everything. And slowly he changed. Actually, once I got pregnant, everything changed. It's like he was a whole nother person, and it started with him belittling me.
Okay.
He would criticize me. He would call me fat. He would call me ugly. He would call me stupid. He would say that I should be worthy. Well, I should be happy that he chose me.
Wow.
And he just broke my self-confidence down.
And oftentimes that's what abusers do. They want to break you down so that they can continue abusing you and have you in a position that they want you to be in. So when you guys are listening to a man that's telling you these types of things, that's a good sign to get the hell out of that.
Right.
And to leave him alone. If a man is not lifting you and building you as a woman, building your self-esteem, feeding you with positive words, telling you that you're beautiful, you're worthy, you're worth it, if he's not doing that, that's a good sign that that's not the man for you.
Right.
You know?
I think it's important for women to know it didn't start. It didn't start in a negative way. It started beautifully, and he changed.
And oftentimes that's how it is, especially with abusers. They tend to be those Prince Charming type of guys. Not to say that all nice guys are abusers. Let me make sure I preface it by saying that. And I'm only saying that based on what I have seen and heard through females that have shared these types of stories and testimonies when it comes to abuse and that type of thing. He starts off like a wonderful guy, opens the door, puts a coat around your shoulders, rub your whatever. You know what I'm saying? And next thing you know, all of a sudden, out the blue one day, he just pop you.
Right.
And you looking like, what the hell? This is stuff that I've heard from women that are
Right.
that I've known. It's like, this guy was such, just like what you're telling me.
Right.
This
What
guy
did I
was
do
so
wrong?
wonderful. And then you begin to wonder what you did wrong as the female. In essence, you ain't do nothing wrong. You just dealing with a nut
Exactly.
that got some problems. You know, that's just the bottom line. Now, that abuse went further.
Right, it did. It went further. So on Christmas night, in the book, I talk about Christmas night. And on Christmas night in 2009, my abuser decided he didn't want to be bothered with me and the kids. He wanted us out of the house. He was like, I want you to go to my mom's house. I want you to spend time with my family. And then you can go see your family. And so he was like, but you need to be back at a reasonable time. And I started spending time with, I went and did the family thing with his parents. And I left his parents about 6 and went to my family. Mm-hmm. And I was just so thankful, actually at the time, that I was able to go see my family because he had isolated me away from my family.
Okay.
He had me where I thought that my family didn't love me at the time. He had me feeling like this is a special occasion. I need to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so when I went for Christmas and spent time with my mom, I was just having just such a ball, and he started calling me back to back. And I was like, I'm on my way. And before I knew it, time had just flew by. Mm-hmm. And I looked at my phone, and he had called me like 15 times.
Wow.
And he was like, it's time for you to get back home. Mm-hmm. So I'm flying back up to the north side. I stayed in C.E. King at the time. Okay. We had a house in C.E. King. And I get home, and he's like, okay, just kind of walking around kind of cocky. Yeah. Like, you just going to do what you want to do. You're going to come home when you feel like coming home. Mm-hmm. And when I got in the door, I'm like, hey. I was like, oh, I had such a fun time. The kids had fun. And he was just like, he goes to the kitchen, and I would like come in to explain because I knew he was angry, and I just felt I need to explain to him why. Like, this is Christmas. This is Christmas night.
To diffuse whatever you saw.
Right, to diffuse. Like, maybe I can tell him how much fun I had, and he'll be okay. It is Christmas. I get in the kitchen, and he turns around with a cast iron skillet, and he hit me with it. And I just laid there. I didn't know what to do. And the kids are coming, and they're like, my daughter, she's 16 at the time. 16 now. Okay. But she was little at the time, and she's running in, and she's like, what's going on? And I'm laying there, and I'm just laying there. I don't know what to do because my child is crying. The baby is crying, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to grab this diaper bag, and I got to get out of here. And when I go to get the diaper bag, I turn around, he has a gun.
Oh, wow.
He cocks the gun. And when he cocks the gun, my child runs in the room. And at that point, he sends her back to her room. He's yelling and cursing. And he just started going in on me. He started punching me. He kicked me. He spit on me. He did anything that was degrading, he did to me that night with my kids there. And as he sent my kids back to the room, I decided I was going to get out of there. And I grabbed my jacket because he was in there dealing with them. Mm-hmm. And as he went to deal with them, I grabbed my jacket and I left the house. As soon as I got to the door, my daughter was crying. And she was like, don't leave me. And I was like, I cannot take you with me because if I take you, he will catch me. Mm-hmm. I cannot. And I said, Mama will be back for you. I promise I'll be back, but I cannot take you with me. I run, and as I'm running, I can see the headlights, him trying to catch me. And it might not even been him. I just was terrified. I didn't know what to do, and I was just running. And I decided I was going to run into the woods.
Okay.
I didn't know where else to go. But I will say I did have access to a phone, and I called my sister.
Okay.
And I told her that he was going to kill me. And she called the authorities. She didn't have an address, so what she had to do is she had to drive there to me.
Okay.
And the authorities were there, and that night is when I called out to God. Because for so long I felt like I needed to keep my family together. I felt like this was the first time I had an actual family.
Okay.
And I felt that I didn't want to be a statistic. And I just kept praying to keep my family together.
In the midst of the abuse.
In the midst of the abuse. But in all actuality, God was showing me time after time, it's time to get out of this. And in the woods is when I called out for God. And that is when he revealed himself within me and saying, it's okay. It's okay. I am here. Stop putting your faith in man and put your faith in me. I will help you. I will lead the way. Because I wanted to die that night. I didn't want to live. Because I felt there was no way out. How can you have a way out when everywhere you turn, that person is there?
Right.
That person stalks your mother. That person tries to assault your mother.
Really?
That person comes up to your job. How can you get away?
So he came to your job in addition to being the abusive husband. He came to your job as well.
He would come to my job. He would sit in the lobby at work. He would, if he didn't come home at night, he would be there the first thing in the morning to make sure that I was at work on time.
Really?
Really.
I can only imagine what that must feel like, to be stalked in that type of a way. And it's by your husband.
And he was not my husband. He was my children's father.
Okay, your children's father. I just can't imagine it. I cannot imagine having to live.
And it's by the grace
and
of
you
God.
working and wondering if, thank God you didn't get married to him. And thank God you're out of it.
Yes, yes.
You know? Yeah. And did you leave that night? Was that the final thing for you?
That was not even the final straw.
That was not the final straw.
That was not, and that is.
What was that final straw for you?
When I was raped. When I was raped was the final straw.
Okay. So he just that was it for you. That just and you know, sometimes we have to have those final straws or that detrimental thing for us to say this is it.
Right.
I can't do it. I'd rather die than stay in this situation. And I'm dying already in the situation, so I might as well take a risk on myself and get up out of here.
Right.
And I know a lot of times you're operating in fear too, because you're scared if you leave, somebody as crazy as him that follows you to your job and stalks you in the lobby and waits for you to get off and wait for you to come to work. That's scary as hell for any human being. You know, and was there ever a restraining order put out?
There was a restraining order, and I got a protective order. I got a protective order when he tried to bust the window in on my mom. And that was when we got the protective order. And he would even show up to my house and use the police and say that he wanted to do a well check. Me and my kids would be hiding in the closet at night with all the lights off, so he wouldn't know we were home. And we had to do what we had to do to be safe, because, and that's why it's so important that women get a safety plan. Get a safety plan for home, get a safety plan for work, get a safety plan for wherever you are, because you will need it. You don't know what may cause that person to snap and what may push that person to the next level. Whether it be emotional abuse, maybe physical abuse, you never know. You never know what will cause a person to snap.
Absolutely. And it's always good that you have you try to have a plan for yourself.
Right.
When these types of things are happening with you. You try to have a plan A or a plan B.
Right.
Even for it might help to even tell the kids.
Right.
If this happened, then this is what I want you to do.
Right.
if it means run to Miss Susie house across the street and have her to call the police, you know, it's just unfortunate that a human being has to live the way that you've lived through that experience. I know that was hard for you. I know that was detrimental for you. And in the midst of all of that, it's helped you to do some things with your life afterwards.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing now with the group that you formed.
So I have an organization called Vision, Opportunity, and Work, and it's called the VOW program. And in order to get out of a situation, you have to make a vow to yourself. You have to take back your power. You have to value yourself, and you have to love yourself, because nobody will love you like you can love yourself. No one. And so my organization is, what we do is we go to schools, we talk with women that are struggling in toxic relationships and help them decipher what is toxic versus what is healthy. And we help them. And I feel that if anyone can be a voice for them, I can, because I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to be lost. I know what it's like to not think you're beautiful. I know what it's like.
Yeah. Well, I want to give you a confirmation on your beauty. You are beautiful. Don't you all agree? Needless to say. As are all these women with this anthology. I remember when everybody was walking into the studio today, I was like, hey, there's nothing but pretty women in the book of the anthology book. And you guys have, I've oftentimes heard people say you don't look like what you've been through.
Amen.
And and certainly you women don't look like what you have been through. You're not only doing that, but you're doing some other stuff too.
Right. So I am with Her Voice, which is an organization that mentors women that are in domestic violence situations. So we mentor them as they get out of this situation. And Bridge Over Troubled Waters helps them get them stationed. And what Her Voice does with Shayna Lewis is we mentor them. We make sure that they know that they're not alone in this and that they can get out of the situation. And once they get out of the situation, they have someone that they can lean on that's been through it that can help them. I think it's important that when you're in a situation that you reach out for help, because this is something that you cannot necessarily do on your own.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And real quickly, Shayna Lewis was one of your mentors.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
Okay. And Shayna Lewis, unfortunately,
There's Sherilyn Gordon.
I'm Sherilyn Gordon.
Dr. Sherilyn
Dr. Sherilyn Gordon was one of your mentors. And unfortunately, she was recently killed, like within maybe, 3 weeks?
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks ago. It was like a murder-suicide type of thing. But that was one of your mentors. And I know that had to be tough for you.
That was very tough for me.
As well.
To know it is close to home and to know that someone didn't make it, that uplifted you and pushed you to get your organization off the ground, and you turn around and you're like, well, what happened?
Yeah.
I just want people to know that this happens. It has no boundary. It affects six-figure women. It's corporate women, the rich, the poor, the old, the young. It affects us all, and it's important that we reach out and we ask for help and we create a safety plan. It's so important to create a safety plan.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I think it's important that you develop a safety plan. I think it's also important that you develop a sisterhood of women that you can trust, that you can share this information with, that might be able to help you and get you out of that situation that you might be dealing with, in addition to the prayer that you have. I want to ask you one last thing. If there's anything else that you want the world to know about who you are and what you're doing, and what would you say to the woman that's out there, like I asked the other guest, that's out there that's going through what you've been through?
That you're beautiful and you are worthy of real love. And it's time to take your power back. It's time to take your power back. You can be self-sufficient. You can survive and thrive. You can make it to the next level.
All right. Man, thank you for being here. We're going to be back, y'all, in just a moment with our final guest for the evening. Stick around. We're going to be back in just a moment.
Women invest a lot of valuable time in their stylish chair, creating and maintaining a polished image. Having been in the beauty industry for over 35 years, I have witnessed this investment firsthand.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Jackson, and I'm the owner of Interactive Hair Studio. I love doing hair. I love being creative. I love giving someone options.
Through the years, I began to notice how much time was being spent threading needles during the weaving process. In salons everywhere, clients were threading needles for their stylists to save time instead of relaxing and enjoying the experience.
We had to use towels and sometimes mannequin heads, or oftentimes your own clothes, where you thread a lot of needles and you just have them ready so you can move faster.
I knew that this was not the kind of experience that I wanted to provide for my clients, so I created a better way. The Easy Needle Multi-Threader is designed to make the weave installation process faster and easier, all in 5 simple steps. All you have to do is secure the Easy Needle Multi-Threader to a surface, insert the cushions into the unit, slide the needles into the cushions, place your thread onto the dowel, and thread your needles with the Easy Needle Threader. Stylists who use this product will never have to thread another needle in between weaving again. With the Easy Needle Multi-Threader, they can save time, save money, increase their clientele, and provide a wonderful experience for their clients.
Sky Trues Custom Eyewear has taken the world by storm. In only 8 months, Sky Trues has gained the eyes of many, including celebs like Big Sean, Little Flip, Destiny Child, Soulja Boy, just to name a few. Through custom design, Sky Trues can put your imagination on your frames. I bring to you the next big thing in Houston, Sky Trues, created by Golden Boy, the musician, the artist, the entrepreneur, and grassroots marketing genius. Be inspired. Sky Trues, custom designed frames.
Sky Trues. You know, when I started this thing,
All right, welcome back to this edition of the Farrell Phelps Show. As promised, I have my final guest here, Miss Olivia Henderson. Welcome to the show, Olivia. Olivia Henderson Hall. But my notes said Henderson.
That's fine. I'll take that too.
You'll take Henderson?
I'll take
Were you a Henderson?
I'm still a Henderson.
You still
I'm going to keep that forever.
Okay.
I can't give it.
I got Sister Olivia Henderson Hall on the Farrell Phelps Show today. Olivia, born in Louisiana, mother of 7. Founder of Healing Hearts, anti-bullying, you're a motivational speaker as well. But before you became all of that, and what led you down that path to even be in the Woman of Faith book was your testimony and your story. Tell me a little bit about what you went through.
Well, as I shared at the book signing, my story is a little different because I went through so much. I was a child that was raped at the age of 12 by my mother and my stepfather.
Say that again?
By my mother and my stepfather. My first sexual experience was with my mom and my stepdad. He wanted to have sex with me. So he told my mom that he wanted to have sex with me and she had to participate. And she did. So that was the start of my downfall in life. Throughout my life, I was abused by my mom. I was always beaten. I was always told I wasn't pretty. I was always told I looked too much like my dad. And I watched men come in and out of our house all the time. And she was an alcoholic, so she drank. So it was me, my brother, and my sister, and I was the mom. You know, I had to cook, clean, comb hair. And I had to take over the mom role because my mom stayed drunk all the time. So when she allowed my brother's dad to come in our home after he had did like 19 years of being in prison. And
you said your brother's dad.
he wasn't my dad. Me and my sister have the same father.
Okay.
So I had this feeling when she let him in that the devil had came in our house.
Mm-hmm.
It was a feeling that I knew my life would never be the same when he came in, because how he would look at me.
Okay.
And it was just the things that he would just do. He just was creepy. And
Mm-hmm.
so when the night that my mom told my sister and my brother that they could spend the night at her friend's house, I couldn't go because she said I had gotten in trouble. But that wasn't true. So I was forced to come in the room with them, and I was forced to drink brown liquor, and I was fighting. And they were pouring this liquor down my throat to get me drunk so I wouldn't fight them.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept fighting until I couldn't fight anymore because by now I'm drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And so this
And
went on.
is this the age of 12?
I was 12.
Okay.
So this went on like every other day. I would have to have sex with him. And the only way I didn't have to have sex if it was that time of the month for me. And so it got to the point when I kind of realized that I would put my pads on sometime and pretend so they wouldn't bother me. But at the most part, I would be threatened that if I didn't participate, that they would go get my sister or my brother. And now I was saying to myself, why would you get my brother? Because that's your child.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that they wasn't lying, because if you were doing it to me, you would do it to them.
Mm.
So I had to participate. So, long story short, he would beat my mom. He beat her so much till one night she left and left us in the house with him. And he came in the room after she left and got me and took me in the room with him to have sex. But he didn't get to because she sent the police back.
Okay.
And that's
good.
what saved us. So we went to the shelter, and I was trying to tell the lady about my mom and him, and my mom all of a sudden broke out crying, just took the she didn't want the lady to know what I was trying to tell her, so she brought the focus
okay.
back to her.
Okay.
And so we left that morning from the shelter and moved back to Louisiana, and it was like that was never to be spoke about again. It was like, don't talk about it. But that changed me, because
Yeah.
I became a girl with the lowest self-esteem to the tune that I met a guy when I was 14,
Mm-hmm.
and he was 18. And I told him I was 17.
Okay.
See, that's something when girls are searching for that love, because I still didn't know my dad. I hadn't been around my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be loved, so I met him, and I ended up getting pregnant at 15, and I had my baby at 16. But believe it or not, when I met him and we started dating, I got beat up by him.
By the 18-year-old.
Yes, he stomped me and drugged me, and he just used to beat me for no reason. And we had a trail through the back of our house, and I remember being pregnant, and I walked through the trail, and my neighbor's grandson was walking through the trail. My mom was drinking, and we came, and she saw it. And when my son's dad came, she said, well, I saw her coming out the alley with that boy. And he said, really? So he drugged me in the alley, and I was 6 months pregnant, and he started stomping me in my stomach and beating me. And it took the neighbor that was on drugs to come and get him off of me. So my mom waited till I had my son, and my son was 2 weeks old, and she told my son's dad, come get your family out of my house. So he brought her some beer, and so that's how I ended up living with him at 16. And I was locked in the house all the time, and when he leave, I'd be locked in. I couldn't leave the house, but he would beat me all the time. And I remember being asleep, and he hit me in my face so hard and woke me up, and I asked him, why did you hit me? And he said I was sleeping too good.
For no reason at all.
For no reason at all. So by now I'm 16 going on 17. And so I asked for a job, and he allowed me to get a job at the Y. And my first job, I'm like, why did they give me this? The city would give jobs for teenagers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did they give me this job at the Y? Everybody swims here, but don't you know God put you in the right place at the right time?
Mm.
So my job wasn't to watch the kids swim. The lady said, come here, I got somewhere I want you to go.
Uh-huh.
And so we go to this little door, and upstairs was the women's shelter for domestic violence. Women that were hiding from their
At the Y.
And all the years of us going at the Y, we never knew women and kids lived upstairs.
Wow.
So 2 ladies changed my life. One had a scarf on her head, and my job was to watch the kids while the women were in counseling. And one lady asked me, how long you been getting hit on? And I said, I don't get hit on.
You were denying it.
And she said, I used to say that too. And she removed her scarf. And she had staples as stitches in her head. And she showed me that her husband had beat her in the head with a hammer. And so another lady came out, and I was watching her, and I was crying, and she asked what was going on. And she said, I was just talking to her. And the lady looked at me, and she asked me the same question, how long have you been getting hit on?
Wow.
And I told her, I don't get hit on. And she said, I said that too. And she pulled her shirt down and showed me her breast, and her nipple had in fact been bit off. And I sewed back on it, and her husband had did that to her. And so these two women encouraged me to think of my child and me first. And they told me how to get out of their relationship. They told me how to hide weapons in the house, the littlest things, little hammers and bottles to protect me in the event that he's trying to fight me. And so I did that, and I got away. So I thought, and I moved. I didn't move back in with my mom, but I got my own place. And I thought I was safe. For a good little while, I thought I was safe until he found me. And I had my neighbor, that's my neighbor, I told him about my son's dad and to be on the lookout. But this night, my son's dad found my place.
Okay.
And he came in, and he went into the wrong, I lived in a duplex. He went in my neighbor's house instead of mine. Because we had a screen. When you come on the porch, it was 2 doors. And you couldn't see which door because the screens were dark. So if you come on the porch, it's like A and B.
Yeah, you got to decide what door to go through.
And it was the neighbors. And so I could hear all this commotion next door. And I could hear him saying, she left me for a white man? And I could hear gunshots and fighting and arguing and screaming. And at that point, I realized that was my son's dad next door. And I hid in his closet. And I heard my door get kicked in. And he came in, and he was just going from room to room looking for me. And I was breathing so hard, and I was praying. And he got to that door, and it was like tug of war. He was pulling, and I was pulling. And he was pulling, and I heard God tell me, let that door go. And I let it go, and he flew back. And I ran past him, and I didn't have anything but my gown on, no shoes, nothing, and it was dead winter. And I ran, and I slid under this car. And the neighbors were sitting in their car, and he pulled a gun on the neighbors and told them, don't get out the car. And he made me get from under the car, and he put me in the car. And at this moment, he said, tonight's the night that I would die. And
he told you that tonight is the night that you will die.
And I believed him, because my beatings had got to be so bad till you fractured my jaw, you fractured a rib. So I knew you know, this was the night. And so at this moment, it's like God told me to put my head down and pray. And when I went to put my head down, he shot. And he shot the window out. And I knew I was going to die that night. So he drove me back on our side and duct taped me and put me in the trunk of the car. And he let the car go in the water. We had a little lake. And he left the car there. And I was in this car pleading for God to help me.
He duct taped you.
My mouth, my feet, and my hand.
Put you in the car.
And closed the trunk.
Closed the trunk and let it.
Put the car in neutral and pushed it in the water. And that's where he left me. And I remember asking God not to let me die in that trunk. And he must have had, I don't think the car was going in the water fast enough, because he opened it and drug me out. And then he made me walk with him back to our apartment, because it wasn't too far from where we stayed together. But not realizing he had shot himself in the midst of struggling with my neighbor and hit a major artery. So he was just bleeding. And so that morning I woke up and there was blood all in the bed. And he was like, go call my mom. So I had to go across the street to the neighbor's house, and he's looking at me out the window. And I asked the neighbor, could I use the phone? She said yes, and I dialed 911. And he came, I guess I was taking too long. He came to the neighbor's house, and I heard up and dialed his mom's number. And he came and he snatched the phone and he hit redial. And it was his mom's voice answering machine came on, and I said she was out answering. And I won't forget it, because it was a Sunday morning, because his mom goes to church every Sunday. And it was cold, and I'm out here still with my gown and no shoes. And he had on some like shorts and a t-shirt. So the police pulled up. And they said, did anybody call 911? I didn't say anything. And so he said no. And we went to walk off, but the police said, come here for a minute. Because why is this woman out here with a gown on and no shoes? And it's cold. It's dead cold in Shreveport. So he said, we're going back home. So the guy says, neither one of you called the police? I still didn't say anything.
Really?
So 3 more cars pulled up and they took him away just a little bit, not that far. When the other 2 cars came, I started telling them that what he had did, and so they knew to be looking for him because the other police in Bossier had already put a thing out saying that this happened at this complex. So they were looking for me because the neighbors told him.
Yeah.
So he went to jail, and he got 7.5 years. But even from
Oh,
jail,
good.
he called my job and said I should have killed you when I had a chance.
Wow.
But that didn't stop my life. I was still out of control because
Okay.
I became a drunk. I became like my mom and my dad. I became a drunk.
You became what you hated.
I hated it.
In so many ways.
I ended up having babies after babies. I would meet men and we would date a couple of years and I would have babies. And I found myself as a little baby maker. If you say you love me, I was having a baby. And then it came to the point that me and my kids were homeless. And I asked my mother, could me and my kids stay there? And she said no.
Wow.
So I was forced to start prostituting to take care of me and my kids. I tell people God saved my life 3 times. And that was the first. The first was when my son dad tried to kill me. The second was when I tried to sleep with a man that had full-blown AIDS, but he wouldn't sleep with me. He kept telling me no. He kept telling me no. And the third was when I tried to kill myself because I didn't want to live anymore. Why live in a world where you beaten and abused and the people that say they love you mistreat you?
Right.
Why live that way? You know, and then so as I found myself being married twice, my first husband was no better than anybody else.
Okay. Abusive as well.
And I married him while he was in jail.
While he was in jail?
Yes, and later found out that he, in fact, was the guy that killed my uncle, my dad's brother.
The man that you married, you later found out that he was the man that actually killed
My uncle.
Your uncle, who was your dad's brother.
And so, right now, that gentleman's on death row for killing 3 people. I married my son, my youngest son's dad, and I lived with him for 12 years in abuse, mentally, verbally, emotionally. And you know, when people ask you, why don't you leave? Sometimes that's easier said than done. You know, you can ask why you don't leave, but when you are dependent on somebody and they take your life from you and you feel like, I haven't worked, how can I get work? I can't do this. And this is all you know, you stay because you're scared of the unknown.
Yeah.
But it took me to go through, I would say, a mental breakdown.
Okay.
He left me and the kids, and I was forced to depend on God. That's the only person that could help me at that point. So here I am today, a woman that has survived so much with 5 daughters and 2 sons.
Yeah.
And when I tell young girls, there's nothing you could tell me that I haven't went through.
Women invest a lot of valuable time in their stylist chair, creating and maintaining a polished image. Having been in the beauty industry for over 35 years, I have witnessed this investment firsthand.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Jackson, and I'm the owner of Interactive Hair Studio. I love doing hair. I love being creative. I love giving someone options.
Through the years, I began to notice how much time was being spent threading needles during the weaving process. In salons everywhere, clients were threading needles for their stylists to save time instead of relaxing and enjoying the experience.
We had to use towels and sometimes mannequin heads or oftentimes your own clothes where you thread a lot of needles and you just have them ready so you can move faster.
I knew that this was not the kind of experience that I wanted to provide for my clients, so I created a better way. The Easy Needle Multi-Threader is designed to make the weave installation process faster and easier, all in 5 simple steps. All you have to do is secure the Easy Needle Multi-Threader to a surface, insert the cushions into the unit, slide the needles into the cushions, place your thread onto the dowel, and thread your needles with the Easy Needle Threader. Stylists who use this product will never have to thread another needle in between weaving again. With the Easy Needle Multi-Threader, they can save time, save money, increase their clientele, and provide a wonderful experience for their clients.
Sky True.
Sky Trues Custom Eyewear has taken the world by storm. In only 8 months, Sky Trues has gained the eyes of many, including celebs like Big Sean, Little Flip, Destiny's Child, Soulja Boy, just to name a few. Through custom design, Sky Trues can put your imagination on your frames. I bring to you the next big thing in Houston, Sky Trues, created by Golden Boy, the musician, the artist, the entrepreneur, and grassroots marketing genius. Be inspired. Sky Trues, custom designed frames.
Sky True. You know, when I started this thing.
Welcome back to this edition of the Phil Phelps Show. As you guys know, we're talking about something that's very, very heavy today. Now, we left off, you were talking about the 911.
Yes, I had called the police, and they came, and I told them what happened with us, and so they arrested him. And from there, I tried to go on with my life as best I could, but he ended up getting 7.5 years for that.
Okay. And you said you want to go on, you actually have gone on with your life at this point.
I have.
And you're in a totally different place, and like we talked about before, your story is in this book that is blessing a lot of people. Not only is your story here, but you're also getting ready to do what?
Release a book.
Release her
June
own
24th.
book.
It'll come out June 24th, and it's called The Dirt I Hid, My Story.
The Dirt I Hid.
The Dirt I Hid.
Wow.
Because it's a lot.
You
know, this is a segment, we can't get it all in there.
Gotcha. Now, what she just said was that it's a lot. And what we have here is just a snippet of what this other book, The Life I Hid, the Dirt I Hid. And you know, when you say the dirt I hid, oftentimes dirt is something we sweep under the rug. We try to hide and cover up.
You dust around it.
Go all around it.
Everything.
There you get everything.
You won't lift it up. You won't take nothing off the little shells. You just wipe around.
There you go. And leave the dirt there. But this is the dirt I hid, where you actually going to talk about everything.
Everything.
And okay. And that's good. And again, like I said earlier, when you tell your truth, it set other people free. So that when you can talk about the dirt you hid, you're going to bless somebody.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm definitely going to want a copy of The Dirt I Hid when it comes out. And the date again is
June 24th.
June 24th, The Dirt I Hid. That's fantastic. I look forward to it. And you know what? We might just have to have you back on the show so we can talk about that a little bit more when it comes out.
That'll be fine.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this edition of the Phil Phelps Show. And for more information on the show, you can certainly reach me at Let's Talk About It 12tv@gmail.com. That's Let's Talk About It 12tv@gmail.com. You can also go to my YouTube channel. Simply type in Phil Phelps on YouTube. A list of my shows will be right there for your viewing pleasure. I want to give a special thanks and shout out to Rhonda Branch, who actually put this anthology together and make this thing happen for all these amazing women. Can you guys give Rhonda a hand of applause right now? Thank you very much for making this possible for everybody. And until next time, folks, we'll see you then.